Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into a sensitive topic, signs your husband might be cheating. Not every change means he's stepping out, but let's be real, love can be a bumpy ride. You deserve honesty and respect. Ignoring problems won't make them disappear. We'll discuss red flags of infidelity. Communicate openly before jumping to conclusions. Trust your gut and pay attention to doubts. It's about protecting yourself and your heart. Ready to face the truth? Let's unpack the signs. Increased secrecy with their phone is a major red flag. Treating his phone like Fort Knox? That's concerning. Always locking and hiding his phone. Whispering and stopping when you enter? Red flags. Healthy relationships need trust and transparency. If he gets defensive, that's a problem. Communication is key. Increased secrecy isn't limited to just phones. Pay attention to his computer habits too. Is he suddenly spending hours online late at night, minimizing windows or switching tabs when you walk by? It's 2023, folks, and technology makes it easier than ever to stray. Has he created new email accounts or social media profiles that you don't know about? Listen, I'm not saying every man who uses the internet is up to no good, but these could be signs he's creating a separate digital life, one he doesn't want you to be a part of. And let's not forget about passwords. Remember when you used to share everything? Now he's got a password for everything, and he's suddenly an amnesia patient when you ask him to share a simple Netflix login. Come on, man, what are you hiding? These digital barriers can be just as damaging as physical ones. They create distance and suspicion in a relationship. If you notice these patterns, it's time to have a serious conversation about trust, transparency, and what's really going on behind those glowing screens. Another sign your husband might be cheating is a sudden and unexplained change in his routine. We're talking about drastic shifts in behavior here. These changes can be a way for him to carve out time for his side hustle. Maybe he started taking longer lunch breaks or coming home smelling like someone else's perfume. These sudden changes can be a sign that he's trying to create distance and opportunity for infidelity. Pay attention to his excuses, folks. Are they believable? Are they consistent? Or are they as flimsy as a house of cards in a hurricane? If his explanations for his whereabouts are full of holes, it's time to dig a little deeper. Maybe he's always working late, but his colleagues seem clueless when you call the office. Or perhaps he's suddenly a regular at the grocery store even though you haven't seen him boil water in years. When someone's stories don't add up, it's a sign they might be trying to conceal the truth. And let's not forget about those business trips. Has he always traveled for work, or is this a new development? Is he suddenly jet-setting to exotic locations, but his souvenirs consist of a half-eaten bag of peanuts and a vague recollection of the hotel lobby? Look, I'm all for a healthy work-life balance, but when work starts to feel like a convenient excuse to escape the relationship, it's time to have a serious conversation. Remember, trust is earned, and right now, he's racking up some serious debt in the trust department. Let's talk about emotional distance. When your husband seems miles away even when he's right next to you. He used to be your best friend, your confidant. But now, it's like there's a wall between you. He's physically present, but his mind is elsewhere. Short, clipped answers, no interest in your day. It's like he's checked out emotionally. Emotional withdrawal is a major red flag. It suggests he's finding emotional fulfillment elsewhere. This issue needs to be addressed. The silent treatment is a classic maneuver. When your husband consistently shuts you out, that's a problem. It avoids confrontation and real intimacy. This behavior is not conducive to a healthy relationship. It breeds resentment and hurt. If you're on the receiving end, it's painful. You start questioning yourself. But it's not about you. It's about his unwillingness to face the music. You deserve better. Understand what you're dealing with. This is a damaging pattern of behavior. Let's talk about money, folks. Specifically, let's talk about unexplained expenses. When you're in a committed relationship, you have a right to know where your money is going. And if your husband suddenly has a bunch of expenses he can't or won't explain, well, that's a big waving red flag. We're not talking about a cup of coffee here. We're talking about significant sums of money disappearing without a trace. Maybe you notice cash withdrawals you don't remember making. Or maybe there are charges on your credit card for restaurants you've never been to, hotels you've never heard of. Now, I'm not saying that every unexpected expense is a sign of infidelity, But if your husband is being evasive, if he's coming up with flimsy excuses, or if he gets defensive when you question him about it, you need to dig deeper. Something's not right. Remember, these aren't just numbers on a page, this is your money, your financial security. And if your husband is being careless with it, or worse, using it to fund another relationship, you deserve to know. Now, I'm not saying you need to become a forensic accountant, but you do need to be vigilant. Start paying attention to the finances. Look for discrepancies, for unusual spending patterns, and don't be afraid to ask questions. If your husband is truly innocent, he'll have a perfectly reasonable explanation for those expenses. He'll be happy to clear up any confusion, to show you receipts, to be transparent about where the money went. But if he gets defensive, if he tries to brush off your concerns, or if his explanations just don't add up, then you need to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Is this a pattern of behavior? Is he hiding something from you? Look, finances are one of the biggest sources of conflict in a marriage, and when you add infidelity into the mix, it can be explosive. You deserve to be in a relationship built on trust and transparency, and that includes financial transparency. Let's be honest, folks, we all like to look our best. But when your husband, who's been perfectly content wearing the same old sweatpants for years, suddenly undergoes a major transformation, well, it's natural to wonder why. Maybe he's joined a gym and is hitting the treadmill every day. Maybe he's bought a whole new wardrobe, ditching his usual comfy clothes for designer labels. Or maybe he's obsessed with his appearance, spending hours in the bathroom primping and preening. Now, I'm all for self-improvement, but when these changes in appearance are drastic and sudden, it can be a sign that he's trying to impress someone else. He's no longer content with just looking good for you. He's got a new audience. And let's be real, folks, that someone else is rarely his gym buddy or his coworker. It's not just about the big changes either. Pay attention to the little details. Maybe he's started wearing a new cologne, a scent you've never smelled before. Or maybe he's gotten a new haircut, one that's suspiciously similar to a certain someone's style. These seemingly insignificant changes can actually be very telling. They suggest that he's paying attention to his appearance for a reason, and that reason might be someone other than you. Now, I'm not saying that you should be suspicious of every compliment your husband receives or every new shirt he buys, but you know your husband. You know his habits, his routines, his sense of style. And when something feels off, when his behavior doesn't match up with the man you know, it's okay to ask questions. Look, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, but sometimes it's a sign of something more. And in this case, that something more could be a threat to your marriage. Now, I'm not saying that every business trip is a cover for cheating. Lord knows I've been on my fair share of work-related travel. But there's a difference between a spouse who's dedicated to their career and one who's using work as an excuse. If your husband suddenly has to jet set across the country for urgent meetings more than usual, and especially if these trips weren't a regular thing before, well, that's a big old red flag right there. It's like a magician. You gotta ask yourself, what's he trying to distract you from? And let's not forget about the vague details. When you ask about the trip, who he's meeting with, where he's staying, does he get evasive? Does he clam up or get defensive? A husband who's being truthful is proud of his work and will gladly share those details. But a husband who's hiding something, he's gonna dance around those questions faster than a rooster in a hen house. So pay attention, because those frequent flyer miles might be buying more than just air travel. Now, I'm not saying you should go full-on Sherlock Holmes and start rifling through his things, but a little observation never hurt anyone. When he gets back from these so-called business trips, does he seem rested and refreshed like someone who just closed a big deal? Or does he seem tired, stressed, and eager to avoid talking about the trip? And what about souvenirs? Now, I'm not talking about a snow globe or a keychain. I'm talking about things like expensive jewelry, lingerie that's definitely not your style, or gifts that scream someone else. These aren't just gifts, they're evidence. Evidence that something's not adding up. And if you confront him about it, does he have a quick explanation? Does he get angry and turn it around on you? These are classic signs of a guilty conscience. Remember, you deserve honesty and transparency. Don't settle for anything less. Intimacy, and I'm talking about the kind that goes beyond the physical, is the glue that holds a marriage together. It's about connection, vulnerability, and feeling desired by your partner. So when that intimacy starts to fade, it's like a crack in the foundation of your relationship. Now, a decrease in physical intimacy can manifest in different ways. Maybe he's constantly tired, always has a headache, or comes up with a million excuses to avoid being close to you. And look, I get it, life can be stressful and we all go through phases. But when it becomes a pattern, when you feel like you're sleeping next to a stranger rather than your husband, that's a major red flag. It's like a slow poison, gradually eroding the bond you share. And don't let anyone tell you it's all in your head or that you're being needy. You deserve to feel desired and loved by the person you're married to. Now, physical intimacy is just one piece of the puzzle. Emotional intimacy is just as important, if not more so. This is about feeling connected on a deeper level, sharing your thoughts and feeling heard and understood by your partner. When a man's cheating, he's emotionally invested elsewhere. He's sharing his time, his energy, and most importantly, his feelings with someone else. And that leaves you feeling emotionally starved. He might seem distant, withdrawn, or uninterested in your life. The conversations become superficial, lacking the depth and intimacy they once had. It's like he's living a double life, and you're only privy to half the story. This lack of emotional intimacy can be incredibly painful, leaving you feeling lonely and isolated in your own marriage. Remember, you deserve to be with someone who chooses you, both physically and emotionally, every single day. Now, we all get a little defensive sometimes. It's a natural human reaction when we feel attacked or accused. But there's a difference between healthy self-protection and the kind of defensiveness that screams guilt. When you try to talk to him about your concerns, does he get angry and dismissive? Does he turn it around on you, accusing you of being paranoid or jealous? This kind of reaction is a major red flag. It's a classic way to deflect attention away from his own actions and put you on the defensive instead. He's building walls, brick by brick, instead of bridges of communication and trust. And let's be clear, this kind of behavior is not okay. It's manipulative and emotionally abusive, and you deserve so much better than that. Another sign of a guilty conscience is walking on eggshells. Do you find yourself constantly censoring your words, afraid to ask even the simplest questions for fear of setting him off? Does every conversation feel like navigating a minefield, never knowing what might trigger his anger or defensiveness? This kind of environment is toxic and unsustainable. It creates an atmosphere of fear and distrust, where open and honest communication becomes impossible. Remember, a healthy relationship is built on trust, respect, and the freedom to express yourself without fear of reprisal. Don't let him silence your voice or diminish your feelings. You have every right to speak your truth and demand honesty and accountability from the person you're married to. Let's talk about new hobbies. It's healthy to explore new interests, but sometimes these hobbies are red flags. You've been married for years. Suddenly he's into ballroom dancing? It's not just dancing. Could be golf, cooking, anything. He's never shown interest before. Now he's spending less time with you. Coming home late, smelling different. Not every hobby means cheating, but you know his patterns. When behavior changes, ask tough questions. Is he molding a new life without you? Midlife crisis? Maybe. Trading in the minivan for a Harley, buying leather jackets, talking about finding himself. He's not finding himself, he's losing himself, and he might be losing you. And who's he riding with? These new friends, these free spirits encourage recklessness. Be direct, be firm, demand honesty and respect. You're not the problem, but wake up, something's brewing. We've talked about a lot of signs, a lot of red flags, but here's the most important thing I can tell you. Trust your gut. You know your husband better than anyone. You know his quirks, his habits, the way he looks at you when he's lying. And if your gut is telling you something's off, something's wrong, then you need to listen. Don't let anyone tell you you're being paranoid, that you're imagining things. Women have a sixth sense about these things, and it's usually right. If you feel a shift in his energy, if his behavior seems different, don't ignore it. Don't bury your head in the sand and pretend everything's okay, because the truth always comes out one way or another. Wouldn't you rather know now, rather than be blindsided later? Don't let fear keep you silent. Don't let him gaslight you into thinking you're crazy. You're not crazy, you're intuitive, and you deserve the truth. Now, I'm not saying you should go full-on detective, hiring private investigators and tapping his phone, but you need to start paying attention. Look for inconsistencies in his stories. Notice when he gets defensive or avoids your questions. And most importantly, talk to him. But don't just talk, really talk. Look him in the eye and tell him how you're feeling. Tell him you're not stupid, that you know something's changed. And if he's innocent, if there's a perfectly reasonable explanation for his behavior, then he'll be relieved to clear the air. He'll be happy to reassure you, to put your mind at ease. But if he gets defensive, if he starts blaming you, if he tries to turn it around on you, well, that's a whole other can of worms. That's a sign that he's hiding something, that he's not being truthful, and that's when you need to decide what you're going to do about it. Look, relationships are tough. Marriage is hard work, and it takes two people who are fully committed, fully invested. But you deserve honesty, you deserve respect, and you deserve to be with someone who loves you unconditionally. If you're seeing these signs in your own relationship, don't ignore them. Talk to your husband, trust your gut, and don't be afraid to seek professional help if you need it. Remember, you're not alone. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is to face the truth, no matter how painful it may be. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more insightful content. Remember, communication and trust are key in any relationship.